Previously on Bailey Tempest.
Looks like the storms are coming.
How about a Tempest? Now that's more my style. Expensive canvas portrait stolen from St. Ives Gallery. High reward.
That spot used to hold a portrait of my late husband. It took a lot of negotiation to get him back from the gallery in Munich.
Well, Uncle Sidney made that law about fishing licenses. The one that stops half his business. Puts this town on its knees, for God's sake.
Fiona Clay did have someone smuggled out of her workshop late last night.
A secret love affair?
Anyway, I've got to go. I'm wanted back at the gallery to explore further.
Everyone, I think there has been a medical emergency.
Where is she?
On the top floor. Melanie is tending to her until the doctors arrive.
And how long will that be?
This far to the coast? Hours!
Are you okay?
Melanie's face was blotchy. Her arm was held against her aunt's open wounds, pressing a bandana against them as a makeshift bandage.
What happened in here?
Bailey tried not to focus on the blood that now speckled the previously clean portraits and soaked into the painter's smock. They had to focus. They kicked away shards of fine ceramic pottery and bold stone sculptures, pushing the clutter aside and clearing the way for any medics that might need help later.
It's hard to make out what's blood and what was paint. It's soaked everywhere. What happened here, Melanie?
I came in here during class. I just wanted a snack. Then I just found her like this.
This looks like a puncture wound. Did you see anything that could have caused it?
Can we keep her alive?
We can try. But it seems she may have punctured an organ and only narrowly missed several major arteries.
By the time the ambulance came, Miss Cray was beginning to grow cold to the touch. Bailey didn't put much faith in her return, but then again, they were a cynic. The detective considered their next options. It was only when a familiar face was seen lingering in a sailboat out the window that curiosity got the better of them, but first they had to deal with the civilians.
Tea. Hot tea for nerves. I can imagine that was all a bit of a shock. Now, there will be policemen coming, and they'll want to know everything. I find writing helps.
Melanie nodded, her throat dry and her eyes wet. She wasn't ready to speak yet. Bailey knew this all too well. The other reaction they were used to seeing, especially in London, was to panic babble.
I'm outside if you need me. Fresh air. God, I wish I still smoked. Hold up. What the hell are you doing here?
It's a free ocean, is it not?
Someone has just been murdered. They're going to want your witness statements. Okay, we'll start easy. Name?
Rami Singh, model, actor, singer, and pastry chef at the Bayside Bakery to make ends meet.
Someone was murdered, dude. Not the time for a CV. What exactly happened?
I just finished modelling. Sat there in a silky robe outfit, pouring wine across my chest while the audience paints it. I go outside, and as I'm packing up, I hear a blurred, curdling scream.
And you didn't check on that?
Ah, yes. Let's add a mysterious brown man to a crisis at a rich old white lady's house. I'm sure that couldn't possibly go wrong.
Is there anything you're not telling me?
Not that's relevant.
Buddy, please. I need to know as much as I can so we can solve this and move on with our lives.
I heard Melanie and her aunt bickering last night when I was there modelling.
Modelling?
I knocked over a vase. It was priceless. Miss Cray didn't know I was there, so I hid under a tarp behind the canvases. And the painting, easel Scooby-Doo style.
Scooby-Doo style?
Oi! Anyway, she was livid. Said she'd clean it up in the morning. Something about a priceless pot from the Qing dynasty. She yelled the bloody roof off. Insisted Mel pay it back.
Thank you.
Please don't tell anyone I've been sneaking into Melanie's room. She got me signed to secrecy.
Ah, so they were sleeping together.
After a particularly rough grilling by the local authorities and a heavily documented trading of notes, Bailey was once again found crashed across the sofa as limp as a CPR dummy. Malcolm was supplying them a series of hot and cold drinks all afternoon, but couldn't provoke a reaction yet. He'd started sympathetic, but by 5 o'clock he finally lost his cool.
Bailey, if you don't get off that damn sofa, so help me God, I will start singing.
You wouldn't dare.
My love, you've been catatonic for 6 whole hours. Your notes are littered across the sofa like confetti.
Those notes are private.
Oh dear God, I've ruined my life. I've totally ruined my life. Now what makes you think that, love?
Someone got murdered, and I couldn't even get there in time to save them.
A lot of people get murdered. You're a detective, not a medic.
I should have been able to save her. And on top of that, I've thrown away my job at the police force and ran to the countryside like some lost child.
You have about 20 seconds before I start singing opera.
Opera?
Would you rather Broadway? I'd be happy to subject you to all 3 hours of Guys and Dolls.
You're bluffing.
There's a woman in hospital somewhere that needs you.
Or the morgue.
Stop being a child. You're better than this.
One more line and I dunk my entire notepad in your antique Windsor china teapot.
Get a grip!
You need to get out more. I'm in way over my head.
Never stopped you before. There's a show on later tonight. I expect you to be dolled up by 6 as my arm candy. Now, are you going as a man or a woman?
I'll dig out the power dress. Give me 2 hours and a shot of vodka.
2.5 hours later, the detective emerged, having heavily paid the femme tax. There was a kiss of dark red lipstick, a deep copper wig that hit their shoulders, and the kind of gold and silver sequin dress that could stop a fire truck at 60 paces. She was breathtaking in full glamour, albeit tiptoeing the line between drag queen, socialite, and housefire.
How do I look?
Spellbinding.
Lady Tempest. Sounds like a superhero, don't you think? So what's the show?
It's a remix night. Every month they put on a music challenge to change the genre of a song. So far I've won 3 times this year.
Oh, not the Jazz Diva Mega Mix again.
The very same, both ways too. You've never heard Luck Be a Lady Tonight until you've heard it mumble-rapped.
The bar was a simple affair. A luxurious red sofa sat in a loft space, orbited by tables and chairs. Bailey tried to let her guard down, her career dread digging into her like a corset, despite her very distracting evening attire.
You're still a rum drinker, right?
Why are we here again?
So I can win and get the performing bug out of my system. You're not the only one who can't think straight before your little rituals, you know.
No, but seriously.
How about you? Were you ever a performer?
A long time ago, I tried observational comedy. I was good at observation, less good at comedy.
I'm sure these things take practice.
It's hard to practice when most of your job is confidential.
Okay, good point.
Funny you should say that. This used to be my stage dress back in the day.
It looks nice on you.
Not too draggy?
It looks nice on you.
I always used bold makeup and loud outfits as a crutch in the early days. A sleight of hand to distract from certain genetic facts I'm stuck with. Far easier to be a crazy drag queen than a convincing woman. People give drag queens grace when they look more androgynous than expected. Now, whenever I wear my party outfits, it feels like training wheels womanhood.
Training wheels womanhood?
Like a kid dressing as Wonder Woman for her birthday. Somehow both comforting but also kind of awkward at the same time.
Between the murder, the unexpected career change, and presenting as a woman in a new city, Bailey's nerves were finally getting the better of her. She decided to nip out for a cigarette. She was doing so well staying off the cigs, but one smoke wouldn't hurt. Extenuating circumstances.
Can I borrow a cigarette?
Of course, darling.
Sweat began to form at the detective's forehead. If he clocked her, either as an investigator or the obvious glitter-gowned elephant in the room, there would be trouble. Bailey missed the days where she could hang out in mysterious alleyways and ask invasive questions without the concern that one wrong word would lead to a bloody nose.
Did you hear about the murder at the gallery this morning?
Was that what it was? I saw police cars and just assumed they were finally stopping that detective brat who was snooping around.
Detective brat?
I don't know. Some jumped-up city ponce asking about private documents.
That's true crime people for you. Now any curtain twitcher within 100 miles of a crime scene can pick up a phone and play detective for the day. Just do an escape room or a murder mystery dinner and leave the professionals alone.
I always feel sorry for the victims. Imagine how bad it must feel to lose a loved one and then have some wannabe barking at you on your own doorstep for the next 6 months because the milkman looked shifty.
So, what do you think that kid was looking for?
Internet fame, I suspect, but also something about a missing painting.
Do you think it was stolen?
Of course it was. But let's be honest. The Cray estate had it coming.
The murder or the theft?
Both. Mayor Cray was a major union buster and an advocate for stripping away health and safety protocols till the bitter end. I'm convinced he only banned overfishing to get back at us.
But I thought he was a lefty stopping pollution.
Nah. Anyway, I've got to go back inside. My wife's on stage in 10 minutes.
Why didn't Malcolm say something about the union busting? Surely that was public knowledge. Why didn't you mention that Sidney Cray was a union buster when he was mayor?
I don't know, just didn't seem relevant. He hasn't been mayor since 2004. Why?
Well, it feels like something would have come up by now. I mean, his painting was stolen and then a month later his wife gets murdered.
Oh, God. You can't have one night off, can you?
No, not after a murder.
How do you even know it's the husband's fault and not the wife? There's a lot of reasons you might want to murder someone.
As much as Bailey hated to admit it, Malcolm had a point. Maybe they'd been looking at this all wrong. They'd barely investigated why anyone in the world would want to go after Miss Cray.
How many rivals could an artist have?
Anyway, I'm up in a minute. Wish me luck.
Since his husband died, he'd been acting really strangely. I guess grief does strange things to a person.
Bailey couldn't help but ponder whether Malcolm was involved in the crime. It was a force of habit at this point, a side effect of late-night police work that erodes assumptions of goodwill. But it couldn't be Malcolm. He'd had no link to the Cray Gallery. At best, he had a few postcards of Fiona's work lying around, but they're as common as the flu. Every gift shop this side of Bristol had something of Fiona's.
With all her artwork, Fiona's probably rich. Then again, maybe money isn't flowing as well as she wanted us to think. Are there any places where she might have taken any large loans? Debts unpaid? Maybe I should check her legacy online.
Malcolm woke to find Bailey, buzz-cut refreshed and buried in their books. Their laptop blaring 18 tabs of internet forums, some charming, others trying their hardest to invent brand new insults and racial slurs.
Any progress?
Nothing yet.
I don't know how you look at so many gruesome websites before breakfast.
For every drink bleach comment, there's at least 2 fan accounts.
Even then, fans can get awfully swept up in their passions. Speaking of swept up, have you checked in with Melanie yet? Maybe she might know something.
I imagine she'd want some time to grieve.
I wouldn't be too sure.
Detective? Is your brother in?
He's out at the moment. Can I take a message?
Oh, that's a shame. I was going to ask if you'd be willing to model for my portrait project.
I'd love to.
Are you free this afternoon? I've been feeling stressed with everything going on, and focusing on the tiny details in the oil painting might force me back into the moment.
Is she hitting on me? Maybe, but she might have a lead. If nothing else, I get a self-portrait.
Do you think you can find the time for me?
Of course. I'll be there at 4. Is there anything you want me to wear for it?
Dress smart, but simple.
One last thing. How did you get my address?
Towns talk.
Why does she think you have a brother?
Long story.
Keep an eye on that one. Something feels off.
That afternoon, the detective arrived at the gallery, dressed up as cleanly as possible and trying to keep their cool behind a sparkling smile.
I tried to keep it simple, like you asked me to. A loose blouse and my signature tweed, that sort of thing.
A very clean look to be immortalised.
Melanie guided the detective to a rich, gingerbread brown suede armchair. The chair had been strategically placed within the centre of an arched window, allowing the sunlight to pour in and bathe the model in a golden glow.
Okay, so we want a pose that emphasises your cheekbones and the sharp shoulders on that gorgeous jacket. Just move your arm to the left a bit. Now look up and towards the window. Perfect! Do you mind if I put some music on?
Go ahead. Do we have an update on your aunt?
Well, good news on that front. She's been hospitalised, but she should recover. Please hold still. Tell me about the jacket.
It was a graduation present after I completed basic training. My family were very proud of me for passing the detective exams. I remember the day I got it. We were at a Chinese restaurant downtown and everyone had rushed to congratulate me.
You must have been very popular.
It probably helps that I was paying for dinner. My way of thanking everyone for being so patient with me when I was stressed with my exams.
It's incredibly well tailored. Does your brother have one?
No, he always borrows mine.
That's a shame. He was very polite when I met him the other day. Were your parents supportive then? Of police work, I mean.
They were very supportive, actually. My dad was always a high achiever. He was a lawyer in Coventry. My mother owned a tailor shop that specialized in country sporting goods, so she always had time to help me prepare for my exams.
Arm up, please. A tailor shop?
Hawk and Tempest. It started as a small independent in Ludlow, but she moved the shop to London when Dad had to travel for work. What about yourself? I imagine it was quite difficult living among such an eclectic family.
Actually, it wasn't too bad once you got used to it. The only downside is that everyone was travelling for work when I was younger. I had to become very independent very quickly.
Had to grow up too fast.
That and the presses. My aunt may not have been a big deal in the regular world, but among art critics she was very much a focus. Even at age 10, I still remember having strangers come up with cameras asking for my opinion on her work.
I'm sorry you had to experience that.
There's also something to be said about having your aunt paint naked people and tell intimate stories on the news. Once she appeared in a documentary at school and I was mortified.
How did she take it when you told her you were dating her favourite model?
I haven't told her.
When were you planning to?
Later, when she wasn't as stressed. A good time just never came up. How do you know, anyway?
You don't need to be a detective to work that one out.
He was never meant to be long-term. I don't think she liked me dating him.
Why wouldn't she like you dating him?
Because he's her muse. They're very close.
How close?
Oh, he's been the subject of at least 6 or 7 different pieces of work. But a few weeks ago they were really fighting. Something about the contracts she made him sign in order to get his modelling fees.
That doesn't seem to be that bad.
He said he wanted 20% of the artwork sales fee. Which, given they've been selling for 20 to 50 grand apiece, is a lot of money. Naturally, she said no.
Do you think he's linked to Fiona's accident?
Well, he signed an exclusivity deal with her, so he can't breach contract or he'll never receive none of his pay.
She threatened not to pay him?
Honestly, I've no idea.
When the painting had finally been completed, the detective went over to gawk at the details. The pointillism in the hairline and the fragile lines depicted in their face contrasted against the bold strokes of patternwork in the fabric of the jacket. There was a truly remarkable attention to detail.
Wow!
In their spellbound state, adjusting position to see the tiny details on the sleeves and the shirt collar, the detective brushed an elbow into the painter's palette. With an irritated jerk, the detective tore their arm away, splattering a small trail of blue and orange against their trousers.
Damn it! Do you mind if I clean up in the bathroom upstairs?
Just up the staircase and to the left.
God, it's still like a crime scene in here. Detective's notes. As you can see, there are still Chinese ceramics still littering the floor in jagged blue shards, now tainted with crimson red tips. The portrait of Sidney Cray is still missing in its original space, staring down at the crime scene, and... Hang on, that's unusual. The hatch has been meddled with. Okay, I'm spraying the hatch with fingerprint spray 451, and there seems to be quite the smudge coming up. If you look closely, there's a scratch against the metal. Someone must have grabbed it pretty urgently since my last investigation. It looks like someone's jacket cuff must have scratched against it sharply in a flurry of sharp movement. While we're here, there's a paint smock hung on the western wall. It seems to be coated in either blood or rich red clothing dye for a project. It has a distinct chemical smell to it, like a high-strength chemical cleaner. I'm going to take a small sample of the dried substance for future analysis. Finally, there seems to be scuff marks against the northern wall, just under where the portrait of Sidney Cray was meant to be. It looks like someone has fallen against it. You can almost make out the imprint of an arm against the wall, and a set of drag marks where the victim has been pulled away in an unexpected direction. It's the same cobalt blue that Melanie used on my portrait earlier. Rami mentioned easels in his interview. There aren't any practice easels in the room today, but if you look closely, you can make out the scratch marks on the decking where they'd been for a while. There's a protective cloth on the floor in the corner. That seems to be there to go over the painting and prevent sun damage. That shouldn't be in there. For the record, there seems to be some kind of jewellery hidden in the protective cloth. A necklace and 2 matching earrings. Dazzling white gemstones and brightly coloured blue sapphires. The kind of item that would wear you if you let it. There's no way the police found this dumped in the corner. I really hope the smudge of Smurf blue on their fingertips doesn't give me away too quickly. Thanks. All freshened up.
Do you have any updates about the investigation?
No, nothing yet. I'll be visiting with the police to see if they have any ideas.
Thanks for coming, Detective. Let me know when your brother is back and I'll schedule him in.
Hi, is this the taxi service? I hate to have to do this, but I need to go to the police station. It's urgent.
Bailey took a deep breath. Being in another branch of your office was always unnerving at the best of times, let alone when it was a police station. There was always the uncanny feeling that you'd been here before, like walking into a replica of your kitchen and discovering all the cupboards had been shuffled around.
Hi, I'm Detective Bailey Tempest. I was investigating a theft, freelance, at the gallery when Fiona Cray got stabbed.
How can I help you, sir?
Someone was murdered. Now is not the time. I have some evidence that I would like to discuss with the investigator on duty, please.
And where did you get this?
I was at the gallery checking on Melanie. I found this on the scene of the crime, hidden in the canvas protector sheet. There were also smocks coated in this red material. It's probably blood or fabric dye. Either way, Melanie wasn't wearing her painting gear when I found her.
You know you need more than just theories for this investigation, right?
Could you run them for prints, please? I think they could be important.
We'll get this looked into right away.
He left his files out. Well, that's not protocol at all. He's practically begging for those to be stolen.
Unfortunately, we can't disclose any more information about the case until the statements are released next Thursday. Until then, everything is confidential, so as to not meddle with private evidence.
Of course, I understand. Malcolm, I'm back. What's with the guests?
It's a B&B. We had a booking.
Oh, I totally forgot it wasn't just me here. Do you have any spare rooms I can work in for a bit? I don't want to disrupt the party.
Take this. Use my quarters on the 3rd floor.
There's a 3rd floor? This does not look like a 3-floor building.
My private attic quarters. It's a door that looks like a cupboard just behind the bathroom with a big black and white poster on it. Can't miss it.
Thanks. I'll try not to make a mess. God, he's hidden it well. If I ran a hotel, I would want my private quarters to be locked away from the drunk students and the tourists, too. More grown up than I was expecting, given the rest of the building. Less colourful, more restrained. Hang on, that looks like a divorce paper? And why is it dated for last week? Why didn't he just say he was divorced? Why lie about his ex-husband's death? Did he just mean that his husband was dead to him? It's none of my business. He was kind enough to let me use his private room. The least I can do is give him the space he needs until he's ready. Ooh, hang on, is that a projector? Much easier to read in high definition. Oh, thank God Malcolm keeps an old projector around. Now, let's see what we're working with. Wait, that can't be right. Rami's the chief suspect. I mean, his fingerprints were across the vase, but he bumped into it the night before, right? And he was spotless when I saw him at the boat. He'd mottled with red wine on his shirt. The cops must have been mistaken. The red-stained shirt they'd found in his bag doesn't even match the same substance as the blood on the smock. Oh, I've got to help him. This is no longer an investigation. This is a rescue mission.
Detective Bailey Tempest in A Brush with Death was written and produced by Matthew Walker. Detective Bailey Tempest was performed by Alex Chu. Malcolm was performed by Stephen Pearce. Sailor Jenkins and Detective Blake were performed by Doug Daly. Fiona Cray was performed by Lily Mummery. Melanie was performed by Rebecca Donald. The narrator was performed by Toby Rothwell. And Rami Singh was performed by Yusuf Malik, featuring guest cameos by Jay as Herman the German Professor.
All audio was listed in the show notes, and music by Tessa Violet.
If you want to support this project, or any projects going forward, I am available for hire as a writer and audio editor. There is a Ko-Fi link below where you can find the original scripts and the novelization of these series. Please donate generously. Thank you for your time.